I hope everyone out there is enjoying your La Ho'omana'o Kamehameha, our Kamehameha Day holiday today, our Kamehameha Day celebration. Of course, it's the day that we honor Kamehameha Pai'ea, Kamehameha Ekahi. Of course, this holiday was first celebrated in 1872, but established by Lat Kapua'iwa, King Kamehameha V in 1871. This is a national holiday for our kingdom, and it has survived 1872 through all these years. It gives us a time to take a break and reflect on our leadership as Native Hawaiians, and also to look at what's coming up in the future, right? As far as leaders who come up from within our communities and serve our communities well. We have an incredible guest today. I'll save the introduction for a little bit, and as soon as the hour strikes 2 p.m., just so that we can make sure that everybody's coming in here and can hear this introduction. But again, once you sign on, everybody, if you can just let us know, Ohana, where you are, where are you viewing from. I'm going to be checking, and throughout the broadcast today, throughout this webinar, we'll be checking for questions that you may have, both on the Zoom, in the Zoom chat, and also on the Office of Hawaiian Affairs Facebook page. And like always today, we're going to be joined by Davis Price, Community Outreach Manager, and Hina Moana Wong, our Community Outreach Advocate. Okay, so I'm just checking all the web platforms right now, making sure that everything's ready to go. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, let's just see who's coming in right now. I'm going to share this on my platform too. So to all my friends out there, wait, let me share it first and then welcome my friends. Okay, good. Now we're live on my page too. I see we have a good audience coming in. So again, e kalahuie, let us know where you coming in from today. I know I'm coming in from Alia Manu. Oh, and yes. Oh, we have somebody joining in from Minnesota. Born and raised on, looks like born on Oʻahu and watching in Minnesota today. Aloha e Kaleilani. Hey, hey, oi Kaleilani. How are things in Minnesota? Are you in the Twin Cities area? Actually, I have Ohana. My grandfather comes from Minnesota. I should check with our Ohana there. With everything that's going on. Oh, my kai. We have Melissa watching in from Uanu. Also, so as we go along, our presenter today has so much ike in this area. This is just one of her talents that she does is writing op-eds or writing period, for different publications. And so if you have questions, please put them either in the Zoom chat or in Oha's Facebook page, and we'll make sure to get it. Aloha kailua. Okay, and oh, you're just outside, Cleland, you're just outside Minneapolis. Well, Malama over there, take care. And then also we have Micah coming in from Kauai, Prince Kuhio Park, on Maikai. Okay, let's get into this. Everybody today, welcome again to Aloha Rising. This is a webinar series brought to you by the Office of Hawaiian Affairs and our Community Outreach division or program within community engagement. And it is a series dedicated to the civic engagement and bringing about awareness on some history, some things that are happening today, all in regards to making and paving a better future for all of us here in Hawaii. And today we have somebody I've known for, geez, I don't know how long it's been, Gal, maybe I want to say 20, my son is 23, so 24, so it must have been about that long ago. Over 20 years, I've known this person, and she's a workaholic in the best sense of the word, right? She just is nonstop. She's both a JD and PhD, right? Got her, well, let's say we graduated from high school. She's, born and raised in Mānoa, and also educated in Mānoa at our fine buff and blue Punahou High School there. Were you a lifer at Punahou, Kihau?
I was a lifer at Punahou.
Wow.
She's a lifer at Punahou.
Yes.
Mike Kai, but she also got her Juris Doctorate at UH Manoa. At the same time, got her PhD in American Studies at UH Manoa. Is a successful Native Hawaiian woman business owner and has been the Kickstarter. I like to say the Kickstarter and the jump starter for many of our Native Hawaiian nonprofits, around town. So she's going to join us in a bit. Right before that, I just wanted to give everybody an update that this Saturday's Ola Kahaloa. We're winding down this show, and here's a little sneak peek on what's happening this Saturday.
This week on Ola Kahaloa, we take a look at how our ohana are getting taxed out of their homeland on Maui and what this ohana is doing to stay on their land. We also get a glimpse into a new film coming out about one of our heroes, George Helm, and the legacy of Aloha Aina he has left behind. And finally, we have a discussion with two incredible wahine about the importance of doing the census for our Native Hawaiian communities. So join us for Ola Kahaloa this Saturday at 6 p.m. on KGNB.
So yeah, everybody join us on Saturday at 6 p.m. on KGMB. This is probably going to be our second to the last episode that we might have. We might be able to extend, we're not sure, but all we know is we're scheduled just for 2 more that's coming up. So join us on that. Okay, back to Aloha Rising. I wanted to give you guys a little sneak peek onto who Dr. Trisha Kehaulani Watson, was. But for today, the topic of op-ed writing, Kehaulani has been an author for many of the publications that we turn to today to get news, to get perspective, right? From, I think, Huffington Post and the Star Advertiser, and of course now writing consistently, in her column in the Civil Beat. She has been able to pull in some very complex issues that we're all dealing with in our daily lives and throughout Hawaii and throughout the world, and being able to synthesize for us a very unique perspective that we've been able to rely on, to count on, as trustworthy information in this day of fake news nowadays, right? It's so prevalent in our society, and Kehau has been, a lamaku for many of us, that light of rational, logical, and might I say very intense mana'o at times, and that's what we're all looking for, right? We're looking to be inspired, we're looking to be informed, and Kehau does not fail us in in that. So yeah, we welcome her here today. Davis, did you want to kind of talk a little bit more about why this particular topic today and how it connects to, you know, in the series?
Yeah, mahalo. So, you know, just to recap, we've covered, this is the 6th episode. And, you know, we started off, the intent of this show is, or these talk stories is about connecting kuleana. And what we mean by that is, and so how we started to, how we approach that is by talking about our history, some specific mo'olelo that shed insight, provide insight into different eras in our history where we got to see, we talked about some good leadership, some bad leadership, in the role of community and that relationship between leadership and maka'ainana. And we talked about a few different eras. We talked about pre-contact, post-contact. We talked about around the time of the illegal overthrow and the territorial era. And then we talked about the Hawaiian Renaissance and the Kankan. And really it's, you know, how this has evolved, these discussions, or what they're centered on is the role that the community plays and the role that our leadership plays in achieving, you know, justice, ensuring rights, ensuring that our resources are managed properly. It's all of our kuleana, right? It's not just the leaders, it's not just the peoples, it is all of our collective kuleana. And we all have access to tools that we can use to affect how decisions are made and how our society coexists and to elevate the things that are important to us. And one tool that we've been talking about frequently on this show is the right to vote. And then we talked about community organizing and you know, taking up important issues and you know, working with your peers and your community to elevate issues that are important to you. And there's a number of ways that you can do that. And so those are a few of the tools in the toolbox that we talked about. And today we're going to talk about another tool, and that is very specific, and that is utilizing media publications and using your voice to talk about what's important to you. And if there's something that, you know, and actually I'll hand off to Kehau at this point, but yeah, this is just shedding light on another tool in the toolbox that we as community can utilize to exercise our kuleana and raise our voice. Yeah, so mahalo, Kehau.
Mahalo, mahalo to all of you for having me. I do laugh a little because I have known Hina and Mehana for decades now, which makes me feel so much older than I think we are. And we've done, I think, some great work together. Davis, you're still young. You're new. We haven't known you long.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. So I'll just get into the writing part of it because we only have so much time. But as we were discussing offline before we started, I really do believe that writing, especially to newspapers or other mediums, is very much a Hawaiian tradition. This is something that our lahui did throughout the 19th century. They did it well into the 20th century. I'm not sure if Davis, you or Mehana want to talk a little bit about the importance of those voices in our nupepa, but they were incredibly important. Some of our most important leaders of the time created newspapers and led very important efforts. And today we regularly return to those voices and those nupepa in giving us guidance and inspiration. So I think it's very important that we continue to do this. Next slide. So when we talk about op-ed, op-ed just comes from the term opposite the editorial page. So it's just kind of an old term, and it's really only one way. So there's letters to the editor, there's guest columns, there's paid columnists like I am for Civil Beat, there's commentary, there's citizen journalism, and all of these are really just ways of sharing written and then increasingly video messages through a formal media source. So that's really when you're talking, we use the term op-ed very loosely, but it could mean any one of a number of things. Next slide. Okay, so what's important when you really set out to share your voice is what is it you're trying to accomplish? So why are you writing the piece you're writing? So is it in response to a particular situation, is there some policy change you would like to see? So is there legislation coming that you want to address? Is there something that was written in the media or in a newspaper that you felt was incorrect or didn't have a viewpoint you shared that you're responding to? Are you trying to educate people? So these are just a couple of the reasons as to why you would write a piece. And it is incredibly important to know why you're writing, because that's going to speak to what your goal is, what you're trying to accomplish. The other thing that's really important is, is the piece timely? So is what you're sharing appropriate within that particular news cycle? So, oh, thank you. Wow, that was wonderful. So, you know, if you're going to write about something that isn't necessarily relevant in that moment or happened a few years ago, you're going to have a less chance of being published. So you really want to make sure that what you're writing is timely and relevant and responsive to that moment in time. And again, you don't want to wait too long. So that puts a little bit of pressure. So for example, what we're seeing happening with Black Lives Matters. You want to make sure that you're responding and you're sending in your piece, I would say within a week or two. So this really ultimately gives you a very short period of time in which to write something and to send it in. But I do think it's very important to remember that you're always trying to write something that is something people are interested in that moment. Next. Okay, so this is also very critical. Whenever I write, whatever it is, whether it's an op-ed, whether it's something else, whether it's a larger article, you really have to understand who you're writing for. So are you trying to impact just your local audience? If you're talking about something that's happening on Kauai, then for example, you're gonna want to write to that audience and you wanna seem knowledgeable to that audience. If you're writing something nationally, you have to recognize that your audience may not be as educated or familiar with a particular topic as you may be. That's gonna change how you write. If again, you're trying to accomplish something like legislation, for example. So the legislature's about to go back into session. Say there's a particular piece of legislation that you're particularly interested in, then you're gonna want to write to a publication that reaches that audience. So based on that, what is the best publication based on your goal and your audience? If it's statewide, entities like Civil Beat or the Star Advertiser are the best sort of forums for a statewide audience. If it's something where you're trying to influence local legislation or legislators from a certain area, then say Maui, for example, you're gonna wanna write to a Maui publication, the Maui News, or an entity like that. So always understand your audience so you're making the best decisions about where to target your publishing. Next. So technical requirements. Every publication you write to is going to have some technical requirements. For example, a letter to the editor for the Star Advertiser, I think is limited to around 150 words. A guest column is much shorter. I mean, it's longer for them. It's about 500 to 600 words, but it's much shorter than, for example, Civil Beat, which will allow you an unlimited amount of space. You still don't want to write a master's thesis or anything like that, but you want to make sure that what you're sending in meets all their technical requirements. And again, that's going to help get you to the point where they will publish what you send them. Next. So writing a good opinion piece, what I tell people is academic or sort of formal writing is very, very different than writing for a broader general audience. Oftentimes I have, and I love academics, but I'll have academics send me pieces to look at and they're very dense. You'll have very long paragraphs. You'll have a lot of real technical, heady words. That's not necessarily an appropriate piece for a more general audience. If people look at how I write for the Civil Beat versus a professional paper I write or a journalism publication like an academic journal, they're night and day. With Civil Beat, your paragraphs are at most a few sentences long. Sometimes I'll use a 1-sentence paragraph or 2-sentence paragraphs. It makes for a much, much easier read. I'll change the language I use. So I'm not gonna use really complicated technical words like, I'm not gonna use a phrase like indigenous epistemology if I can avoid it. I'll say the way Native peoples understand the world instead. So you really should not simply write to what you're comfortable with. You really have to write in a way that is clear for the people or who are going to be reading what you're writing. And you want that because if you turn them off immediately with really complicated language or something that's very heady, they're not going to read it. They're not going to think about it. So you really want to write in a way that is inviting, that is accessible, that's something people are going to want to converse about. So I'm very Portuguese, as anybody who knows me well knows. And I can talk forever and I can write forever. But I also know I'm going to lose people like 3 paragraphs in if I write the way I talk all the time, or if I write that densely. So you really want to write something that is reader friendly. And those are typically shorter paragraphs. You want something that people are going to share. Know that you may not write your own title. I don't write any of my own titles for Civil Beat. So I really leave that to the editors to come up with titles and subtitles they think are appropriate. They also edit every piece I send in. So know that you should not expect that exactly what you send in is what's going to get published. Editors are just how it works. And I've never had a bad experience with an editor. I think if you have something that really truly bothers you, you can have a discussion about it, but I've always found that editors make my writing better. Be clear as to your point and get that out of the way early. What is it you're trying to say? Is it concern about the way the government is behaving? Is it a concern about a particular issue? Be clear up front, so when people walk away from reading your piece, they understand what your point was. And then be convincing, and being convincing can happen in a number of different ways. So let's go to the next slide. Next slide. Okay. Being convincing is tied to getting your message out. So whether you want to write a piece that talks about data that's out there or research that's out there, or just how something affected you emotionally, no, all of those things are okay. But again, your piece should be accessible, and you have an obligation, if and when you are published, to really help get the word out. So you shouldn't just send a letter in, hope it gets published, and it is what it is. I think in this day and age, particularly with social media, you do have an obligation to share it on whatever platforms you may have. It's why you're writing a piece in the first place. You want people to see it, you want people to read it. And then you can't just rely on the publication. That it happens, but that's not necessarily, that shouldn't be an expectation of yours. And you need to decide for yourself if writing is the right platform. Not everybody is a great writer. You have all sorts of different ways of getting a message out, particularly in the Hawaiian community. Some people, musicians, are wonderful at writing mele. Hina's on this panel, so I'll talk about Hina a bit. She's been able to create extraordinary platforms and get messages out via social media. So I would not be comfortable doing a selfie video talking about something, but Hina is. And she does a wonderful job of it. And she's educated tens of thousands of people through that platform. Or if you look at Kumu Hina, a song that I think almost every Hawaiian knows at this point, but the ability to haku mele and include our message there, and how that has had a tremendous influence. So if writing is not what you're comfortable doing, figure out your gift and talent and figure out a way to translate that into sharing a particular message. And I think that's incredibly important. And I think Hina is probably one of the best examples of showing how you can utilize media to not only share a message, but uplift Lahui. So, you know, and she is very good at getting other people to share her message because the message is so powerful. So at the end of it, whatever platform you choose to use, whatever tool you choose to use, above all else, you should be comfortable. You can go out of the slide. I think that was my last slide. So you can go back out of there. Perfect. You know, and Hina knows I absolutely adore and love her, but I think she's a phenomenal example of how we all play different roles and how we all can occupy different spaces in the lahui to share a common message and move towards a common goal. I'm going to let Hina talk now, though. Yeah,
Mahalo Kehau for tossing the ball to me. I would like to say that as you were sharing, I find that it's also important, just as you said, it's important to think about who the audience is, who's going to be on the receiving end of the words that you select to tell anything, to express your thoughts, express your feelings. And a personal challenge that I have a lot is to be able to have something, regardless of whether it's in English or in Hawaiian or in Tongan, because I write a lot in Tongan, and have the different mindset, you know, get translated, or at least be able to communicate to the audiences that you were speaking about. Sometimes I find that it's challenging because I'm coming from a different space in my head when it comes to expressing myself. But what you said, I was listening very intently because I could take a lesson or two from you today, and thank you for providing that for us. And thanks for all the props. To all of our viewers out there, I paid her to say those things, so thank you so much. Mahalo.
Yeah, and yeah, mahalo nui. And I want to touch on a couple of things that came up, come to mind. You know, you mentioned the history of Nupepa and you know, utilizing media. And then in the first episode, we talked about a few individuals that were leaders at the time and organizers and politicians, and they were newspapermen, like publishers. Robert Wilcox. So this is around the time of the illegal overthrow, turn of the century, transitioning to the territorial period. But Robert Wilcox stood up a newspaper called The Liberal. He was a defender of the kingdom, fought to restore it, fought against the outside, the sugar business interests for a number of years, and then went on to become the first elected congressional delegate for the territory of Hawaii. Joseph Navahi, lawyer, artisan, legislator in the kingdom, and then advocate for restoration of the throne, stood up Aloha Aina, Hawaiian language newspaper. And they were all, and so they were all very active politically. They were all very active, you know, in representing the voices of their community, and they understood the value of the Nupepa, the media at the time, right? And I think that's important for us to recognize. And now you see, like, and we are following that legacy, you know, as new media arises, we take advantage of it as best as we can. Oʻahu has a Facebook, Kanai o Kana, social media, right, is created a massive following and a huge platform for us to just host these discussions, along with all of the other educational programming that they've launched as a result of this pandemic, and you know, fierce advocacy that they do for our education programs, our Aina-based organizations and Native Hawaiian charter schools. So, you know, utilizing media, like you said, social media is one platform. Submitting pieces to the newspapers it's still a very effective tactic to garner attention for an issue. So, you know, but at the same time, for those who aren't maybe skilled in writing or that's not their forte, like you said, Kehau, identifying your talent, identifying, you know, what you're good at and your passion, and communicating that in whatever way. And really, it may not have to be to the masses. It could be just to your ohana, right? Talking about issues and taking time to think about it before, you know, if we're going to talk about voting with our ohana, if we're going to talk about Mauna Kea or Black Lives Matter or the coronavirus shutdown, whether we should reopen or not. These issues that people have very distinct opinions on, you know, I'm a firm believer that we shouldn't run from it. We shouldn't fight with each other, but we should be able to have productive dialogue. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, what's also important to remember is every time you put your mana'o out there, whatever that looks like, you share your voice, and I mean that in the broadest sense, that's representation for the lahui. You know, there's really only Lee Cataluna and myself who are sort of regular columnists with any of the newspapers. At least I'm not aware of any others who are Kanaka. She's become a hugely political, influential voice. It's been kind of amazing watching the turn she's taken over the last year, and she's a phenomenal writer. So I do believe we need to be constantly sending letters to the editors, commentary, columns, whatever it is, because often the audiences that we reach to reach through newspapers are not necessarily the ones on social media, right? There are kupuna who will still read the Sunday paper because get the longs coupons and, you know, that sort of thing. And it's important to be continuously speaking to this group that votes and has influence, and, you know, because we don't otherwise necessarily have a means of reaching a lot of those people. So it is important, and writing's a muscle. I mean, I want to tell people that. I mean, I can write a column now quickly, but I've done it since obviously Jesus walked the earth. So, you know, I've done this a long time, and I certainly didn't, you know, start where I am now. I tell people almost everything has, good writing will have 3 drafts, right? That was always the advice I used to get, because, you know, if people think I'm aggressive and punch your face writing now, you should see the first couple drafts. And so, you know, you kind of, you take time and you have to go through that editing. And like you said, that mental shift where you have to think about the audience you're speaking to, how what you're saying is going to be received. And sometimes issues are so important that it doesn't matter. Sometimes people, you want to punch them in the face. Sometimes you want to be a little more diplomatic. And I think that's where effective leadership comes from. How do you know how to adjust yourself and your message based on who you're speaking to? And I think that's really very, very critical. Another thing just that I think is important. So I think this past week, if anybody saw, I actually wrote with Ken Lawson, who was your guest last week. And I did that very intentionally because I think in this moment where we're talking about Black lives, representation matters. I think one thing that, you know, not just in you're only having 2 columnists, but, you know, we saw where I think it was Serena Williams' husband stepped off the board from Reddit so they could have their first Black board member. To me, creating space for Ken's voice to be heard directly is hopefully a signal to other groups in Hawaii and individuals who might be occupying boards or boards and commissions where it's time to step aside and allow for the Hawaiian voice to no longer be such a minority in all of these spaces.
And I will, sorry, I didn't mean, I thought you, no, and I'll just point out, like we have specifically boards and commissions that have Hawaiian cultural expert positions reserved, right? It doesn't say you have to be Native Hawaiian, but it says you have to have some background in Hawaiian culture, which obviously is not exclusive to Native Hawaiians. However, I think that we're gonna be facing some very some very enlightening discussions about how we should approach those positions, because we do have Kanaka, or we have non-Kanaka holding those positions as cultural experts on very, very important and influential boards that actually are making decisions that don't reflect our community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So sure we're on the same board. So
yeah.
I think it is, you're absolutely right. You know, I mean, and that was part of the dialogue that Ken and I had, was while we both can, you know, empathize with one another, my experience is not your experience. And that matters so much. So when you talk about op-ed writing, you do have a little more freedom to speak from an emotional place at times, and you kind of got to figure out how to convey that particular message. But again, I think it's really, really important for us as a Hawaiian community, and then as a part of a larger community of minorities and oppressed peoples across the world, to have discussions about representation and what it means to have our voices, and not just one, right? One Hawaiian is not enough. I think you need a multitude of Hawaiians to start to get the depth of perspective in all places. So.
Yeah, and and this lends itself to, I think it's a good segue for one of the questions that just came in from Hawaii Public Policy Advocates. And so it says, I have a question for Kehau. Should you match up your message with the publication, or should you try to get published in publications that are read by people who don't really know or agree? And then, do you ever get haters? How do you deal with that?
I do get haters. I'll start with that. I'll go backwards. Yes. So particularly when I was at the Star Advertiser, I used to get some pretty serious hate mail. The Grassroots Institute, let's just say, was not a fan of mine. And I have to tell you, now that I was in my 20s when I wrote for the Advertiser. I'm in my 40s now. So I think I have much thicker skin than I did all those years ago. It felt very abusive and kind of, it feels like a violation. People are saying incredibly hateful things. They're very personally directed. I've learned that's just, and it's not that it's okay, but I've learned it happens, right? You're going to upset people if your message is strong and your voice is coming up. Hina can probably talk about haters as well, but I think we've all seen a fair share of just hateful, racist, terrible commentary that's just unacceptable. And unfortunately, it's how it goes sometimes. I think I go out of my way to, again, right, as a Hawaiian, not be so hateful towards others, right? I mean, I think we have to emulate and be the example of the better dialogues and the civility and the quality discussion we want to have, because we can't rely on others to just come to their senses and behave that way. As to matching your message to the publication, yes and no. I think you need to, again, know who your audience is, but I don't think you necessarily have to match a message. I think good publications make people think, and I'm always quite comfortable kind of pushing things a bit, because I think that's what a good opinion piece does, is it educates, it challenges people to think about an issue in a new way. I do sometimes intentionally, like the Civil Beat, if I wanted to write for the Kawaiola and reach a lot of Hawaiians, I would have called Mehana and said, Mehana, let me write for the Kawaiola. But I think I intentionally chose Civil Beat because it was a different audience, and it's not predominantly Hawaiians, and it's people who I think would, could use hearing a different perspective on issues that I think are very critical. And I will say the Civil Beat has been wonderful to me. They've been very supportive. They don't ask me to pull my punches ever. And I think that's been a value, hopefully for them and certainly for myself. But I do read all the comments. I'll tell you that. I think I never respond to them, but I do read all the comments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and and I'll hand off to you, Mehana, but I just wanted to touch on, say mahalo for the work you do, and then bringing up Leah Karaluna as well. She's been on fire since, last July. I think I really saw something happen with Mauna Kea, and the way she wrote about it was you just saw fire, passion, and just this willingness to call out what's happening, right?
Yeah. Speak
truth. And the article she just published last week, very similar. That tone is there. It's just calling it like it is. There's a lack of leadership. And I really appreciate that. And I think it's very important to have Kanaka voices elevating those issues and holding the government accountable in those ways. So yeah, mahalo nui. And for the viewers, Kehaulani Watson publishes regularly in Civil Beat, and then we have Leah Karaluna that publishes columns regularly in Star Advertiser, and then all of us, can take a stab, reviewing some of what the resources that Kehau shared at, sending in our own opinions, to those publications. And
thing real quick, I think Lee sort of, changing the tone and was very helpful to me personally, right? I mean, when you're one voice kind of out there by yourself, punching people in the face and looking a little crazy, that's a lot harder, right? I mean, I think there is really something to be said for exactly what you said. People writing more often, people writing into as many publications as possible, these voices on social media, it does create a swell, right? That lifts us all up and allows us to continue to push the envelope further and further. So right. I'm very grateful for what Lee is doing. I read her stuff all the time. She's a wonderful human being as well. And I agree with you. People need to continue to speak out in every venue possible and do it often.
Kehau, I wanted to ask you something else, and just from what you just brought up now. So, we know that we have both you and Leah writing, and I totally love it, right? But there's one thing that you do that's a little different, is that you speak too, right? You're often speaking, and it is the Portuguese in you, but it is that part where you sometimes you can stay within the written kind of world and the world of journalism and in the publications field, right? And then transition over into more of the face-to-face audiences, and really putting yourself out there. So I've always admired that about people who can step in front of a live audience, right? And a live body of people, and have your ideas shared, and then challenged, and then tested, and and that to me is how you elevate a whole group of people also. How do you see that role of, or why do you do it? Why do you also step out behind the veil of the printed word, right, and come forward and actually go to speaking engagements and speak in front of audiences, and and do it so unapologetically like your written word, but also kind of fearless?
Honestly, and I'm gonna laugh a little. I mean, when you were saying that, I was like, oh, it's because I hung out with people like you, Pehana. I mean, right? and I talk about her at the Board of Regents meeting grabbing the flag over Mauna Kea that time. And I remember when the Doe versus KS decision came out, we all went down, like Lily Clow was like, keep a red shirt in your car. And we all went down to KS. And John Osorio, who I worked for and was one of my mentors, literally shoved me. Like it was, the River Star advertiser was there. And he goes, go. So, I mean, I think, that's not my comfort zone. So it took some literal shoving. And then that's when, Bo Bassett and I ended up on the front page of the Honolulu Advertiser over the KS thing.
Right.
So that very much was a cocktail thing. I'm not like you and Hina. I can't get up and MC an event. I want to pee and throw up the whole time. I'm not comfortable there. But I think on the rare occasion, thanks to really being around people like yourself, I think I'm willing to, but it's not, I'm super happy at home behind a computer in my air conditioning, in my pajamas. But I mean, if I ever do it, it's really truly because I've been around people who I have found incredibly inspiring from my own generation and my own friendships. And I think we have collectively done some extraordinary work. I mean, there's a whole panel we could do on some of the trouble we've gotten ourselves into, but I think, like you said, organizations we've worked with that I think have had tremendous influence on where we are today. So it's because of you, man.
No, and I didn't pay her to say any of that. Yeah. No, because I value that, right? I value the different forms and in the different platforms that we all are, coming into and willing to engage, right, with our community, because it can be dangerous territory, right, even for just our own
Absolutely.
spirit.
But I think, I really do love our generation. I mean, I think we've talked about this. Like, I think we have very much locked arms as a generation. I think we've seen a lot of what infighting can do. And
Right.
Along the way, we've really made this commitment to one another where even if we disagree, we're going to have a discussion. We're not going to turn this into this bigger thing. And I think we continuously support and inspire each other. And I think that's how Hawaiians should behave. I think, so yeah, I'm not, it was literally, John shoved me. Like, if he did not, it was hilarious, but go.
Yep. I got shoved too. I got shoved by Leah Kala, my first protest. And she was like, okay, yeah, you're doing it. Yeah, go. And I was like, wait, what? Wait, huh? Who do I call? Do I need a permit for this? Like, what am I doing? Right.
Cool. But I think to their credit, to the credit of our teachers, they had, at least for me, I think people had confidence in me I didn't have in myself. So I think that's always really important. And I think it's important for us now to mentor the next generation, right? To kind of continue to say, you may not feel like you're ready, but you're ready. And it's why people should just try. Like, whatever, even if you're not comfortable, if you don't feel like you're ready, even if you're insecure, you got to start to push yourself forward, and then that's how we all rise.
And I have one more question for you. Sorry, and I'm just dragging this out, but this is good, because me and Davis have often talked about how we in our community, when it comes to discussing politics, right, we kind of lack in the area of like those on-screen political pundits that are usually called upon, right? But then that also gets us into discussions about, like what is the what would you like to see, come out, out of our generation or even the next generation, as far as not just having great writers that are out there and putting their stuff, out there into the scene, but even to be those kind of voices that even the greater Hawaii can count on, to get views.
That actually, and that is, I think, a huge gap, right? When you're talking about pundits, they don't come to Hawaiians. I think Dave is the one that told me there's no Hawaiian representation on the Navigator right now, right? I think we have to, you're Dr. Hind as well. I think we have an entire generation who sort of have killed ourselves to get these degrees. And I think yet people don't see Hawaiians as this incredibly rich intellectual resource that I know we are. So I think we have to get to the point where election night, you have a Hawaiian up there who can speak to a wide range of issues and speak to a different audience. I'd love to see every station have that this year. That would be, is every station, in addition to kind of the regular guys you bring in someone with a Native Hawaiian perspective who can speak to what the elections mean for our community and what it means from our perspective. Because I've never seen that.
Right.
I volunteer you, Mehana, for definitely.
No, I was just gonna say, okay, you're it, tag. No.
And maybe we just do it ourselves, right? Maybe something Aloha does, live stream election night. Maybe we just don't wait for other people to catch up. So that's what I want to see. But I look forward to the time that I know is coming when people will realize we have some incredibly smart, talented Hawaiians out there who should be welcomed into leadership positions across Hawaii, because we just should be. Like, we shouldn't have to justify our inclusion to anybody else.
Oh, mahalo nui. Thank you so much for that. It's great. So, everybody who's watching out there, if you missed any part of this, know that you can always go back and catch the presentation that Dr. Kehaulani Watson has done for us today, and get those tips on how to be effective in putting your ideas out there, you know, in the publications that influence not only the outside community, but also influences back into our own community, right? And so let's start putting our names, our faces, our voices into those areas. Thank you so much, Kehau, for joining us today on this day.
Hold on,
And
we just got a message
did
from
Kahi jump on? Oh, yeah, she did.
I feel like
Yes.
the three of us got into quite a bit of trouble back in the day. So
Yes, we did. That was your guys' fault, though. I'm gonna say I was the innocent one in all of that.
For us getting matching shawls, I think that was it.
Right. But you know, and that's a great idea, actually. And after this wraps up, I think I'm gonna jump on with Davis and actually have a conversation about that, about how it is that we can not only you know, focus on the candidates in the upcoming elections, which is one of the things that we do, you know, but also provide you know, perspectives and put our faces out there rather than relying on somebody else to bring perspectives into our communities. That's a great idea, Kehau. But what was that?
Election
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and I believe we're going to be hosting, it's in the works, we'll be hosting some candidate forums on this platform in the coming weeks. So yeah, maybe we can take a stab there and prep for the election night. Debrief on like what we hear coming from the various candidates, and then yeah, talk story on election night. Have some poo-poos and some
magic. It's still there.
Yeah. Oh, we might really get in trouble though. Yeah. It's gonna be fun though. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great.
Rock and roll. Let's get it on. We went to the wheels fall off.
Speaking of a good time, are we now having?
Yeah. We're gonna go over to Kumu Hina Wong, you know, at this moment. But again, you know, mahalo Kehau for joining us on this beautiful La Ho'omana'o Kamehameha Pai'ea. You know, this is our Kamehameha Day edition today, you know, sharing perspectives and great mana'o, great ike, actually, about how to share mana'o, you know, online. So mahalo Kehau for joining us. And now we're gonna my kai. And look forward. Kehau is also what's coming up to. We usually ask this of musicians, yeah, like if they're in the studio making a new album and stuff like that. But Kehau is married to a musician, as you see all the Nahoku Hano awards in her background. You know, award-winning Matt Sproat, incredible musician and singer with his group, and we love them. But Kehau is also the president of the Kalihi Palama.
Glad you remembered. I totally
Yes, it's the Kumu Hula in me. Something was twitching in the back of my neck, right? And as a Kumu Hula, we got a Kako'o, our Keiki Hula competition, which Kehau is the president of of the board of that nonprofit that always hosts the Queen Lili Okalani Keiki Hula competition. And this year, even though it has been the live competition has been canceled like all of our other ones, they are still gonna go on TV and bring us, what is it, a week long?
I think it's about a week long. That's terrible. I'm president, I should know. But it's gonna be at least a few days of when we were scheduled to hold our live competition of all new content. We have every halal involved. It's gonna be an incredible week it's our 45th anniversary. So we're taking the opportunity really to talk about our incredible history and our queen and sort of all of the inspiration. So it's going to be a week of music, hula, interviews, the whole 9 yards. So that's going to be K5 and Hawaii News Now are teaming up. So it's going to be an incredible week of events. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it, you know, having like a nice little intimate view of all these kumu hula, their halal in their spaces on their islands. Tremendous work being taken on by Kalihi Palama to offer this up. And can I tell them about, like, to me this is the real momi of this whole thing. You know, they're also, if you guys are not familiar with the work of Kalihi Palama, they produced 2 volumes previously, books of Loea Hula. right, of Hawaiian kumu hula masters, right? And so many of our kumu, all of our, all of us hula people out there, many of our kumu are in those books. And the way that they did the book was they interviewed these kumu. So they have like the tapes, the actual leo of all these kumu and kupuna. And some of them have passed on already, like my dear kumu, kumu hula lena alakala mahaini, and how them have these these sound recordings, and they're gonna be sharing some of those along with some kumuhula who are still with us today, reflecting on themselves. I mean, that is a momi if I have ever seen it. That's a pearl that we don't want to miss out on. So join them.
One last copy of it. We had one copy, so we digitized it, and then I sort of dropped it on a few people like Mehana. I probably needed a better introduction to just, hey, I'm sending you this thing.
I know it was shocking and beautiful at the same time, though. It was a wonderful gift. Mahalo.
Right, so I probably should have written more than just, hey, check this out. But it is the original interviews and their voices, and there's really some incredible archival material that's never been seen before or heard before that we will be sharing. So it's going to be absolutely incredible.
Yeah, so all of you out there who I see a lot of you are away from home right now, away from Hawaii right now, you do not want to miss this, right? Because and I guarantee that H&M will have it streaming on their websites also. And for those of you who are here in Hawaii, give us, another look into these halau and these kumuhula. So yeah, again, mahalo kehau, and we will see you around, and maybe we'll see you sooner than later when we start doing elections things. Yeah, the way candidate forums.
Get ourselves into in the future. So I'm gonna go. Thank you everybody so much.
Mahalo nui, and
Mahalo kehau.
Kumu Hina pehe oi. How are you doing?
Maikai,
This la ho'omana'o kamemeha.
Maikai ole no wau I ke ia la ho'omana'o I ka mo'i o Kamehameha. Ke aloha anui, mahalo anui ko kākou hui ana, mahalo anui a ʻoukou. E nā la lao ke ia la hui aloha. Pela no ho'i me nā kama'aina, noho mai nei ka pai aina, a pela no me nā malihini e kipa mai nei. Ke aloha nui mai a kākou. O wau no o Kumu Hina le moana. Keia no ko wahi manawa e ka ana kua I ke kahi koe mele no ko kākou himeni ana. Ka uolelo ke ia oko kumai e kanaka. Rise up, stand up, my fellow Hawaiians. Kumai a naue like kākou. The time to act is now. Pele ano ka olelo, you might say, o wai lawa, who am I? I'm not anybody special. I'm not anybody in particular. And I will say in response to you, but neither am I. But together we will make a difference. Ka wali ke ana no, ke la ana no ka ho'omaka o ke au ho'ololi, ke au kahuli. No leila. Next slide, please. This mele is a piece that is one of my absolute favorites. Sometimes my favorite even above the mele ku ha'aheo, because it's short and simple and sweet and to the point. This one leaves far more opportunity for you, the person who's reading it, listening to it, receiving it, and even the person who's singing it, to really contemplate the simplicity of the words, but what am I really saying? I would be remiss if I didn't say my aloha nui, me ku'u mahalo nui, mahalo to none other than Hawaii's own Josh Tatofi, who I had the privilege of watching grow up into the young and talented man that he is today. And he and his vocal and musical stylings, so talented, and can play so many instruments and voice like butter. He called, and I responded to his call, and we sat in the lobby of the Naniloa Hotel in Hilo when I came down from Mauna Kea one evening. And he shared his thoughts, he shared his heart, and my job was to help put some of this and synthesize this into our Olelo Makuahine. And well, lo and behold, here is the child of two minds and two hearts that has now come into being and is sung by many. So mahalo to all of those of you who already know this. I thought that this was appropriate for today, and you'll see that the Olelo Hawaii on one side is quite short, and for this particular sharing of the mele, I expounded even more my thoughts in when I sat there and I listened to what Josh was saying. So, like we did before, I am going to enlist the support of none other than Mihano Kala. Ke olu olu na wana no e helu helu maka olelo makuahine a na mehana no e helu helu aku maka olelo pelekania. Pea no ke mele o for the lahui. E velo mauloa ku'uhai aloha.
May my beloved flag of my country wave proudly evermore.
I ka nu'u o ka lewa lani la.
In the highest of the heavens and under no other standard.
Ai maluhia no nā kau a kau.
In peace and solitude for all time to come.
E o Hawaiʻi ku'uai nā aloha.
Answer, O Hawaii, my beloved nation.
Mahalo. E ku'ulahu ie.
To you, my people, my fellow countrymen,
E vivo ole.
be fearless and bold.
Ku kanaka e.
Stand and be true to who we are as Kanaka.
Oni pa'amau.
Be steadfast to the legacy of our ancestors.
Ua mau ke ea o ka aina I ka pono.
For the life essence and the independence of our land is maintained through our dignity and integrity as people.
Ua mau ke ea o ka aina I ka pono.
For the life of the land is and shall be perpetuated in the righteous honoring of our people and birthright.
So, ladies and gentlemen, mahalo mehana. You will see. Go back to the other slide, please. Mahalo. Two things. Forgive me, everyone. I see a little spelling error that I missed everyone. So forgive me. In the second line, it should read e vivo ole. It has a little extra I over there. So just so you know. Mahalo, Joe. So everyone, you notice that this was another piece of writing, just like how Kehau said, we must consider who we want to impact, and imagine the possibility of being able to write and impact above and beyond and far greater than just the Kanaka community. And I hope that this is something that will sing to many. And I sing this song today not only to honor the legacy of our mo'i.
It's 3 o'clock.
Mahalo. Not only to the legacy of our mo'i, but to the legacy of the people whom have empowered me for those who have empowered me to hakumele. You know, anybody who knows about hakumele, you put your heart and your soul into it. And that's why this song by Josh Tatofi, along with my tag-along self, this is one of my favorite songs. Evelo loa ku'u hai aloha ikanu o ka levalani la ai maluhi ya nona kaua kau e o Hawaiʻi ku'u ai lalo ha e ku'ulahu e vivo ole kukanaka oli pa'amau ua mau ke au ka aina ai ka pono ua mau ke au ka aina I ka pono Evelo loa ku'u hai aloha I ka nu'u o ka levalani la Ai maluhi a nona kaua kau E o Hawaiʻi ku'u aila aloha E ku'u lau e vivo ole kukanaka oli pa'amau Ua mau ke au ka aina ai ka pono Ua mau ke au ka aina ai ka pono Ua mau ke au ka aina ai ka pono Ua mau ke au ka aina I ka pono And that, ladies and gentlemen, is for the Lahui. Forgive me, everyone, for being so emotional today. I can't tell you just how much today's presentation is prompting me to think. And so I say to all of you that whether you're Kanaka or other Kama'aina or Malihini, it is so important that we lift our voices and avail it to the expression of our thoughts and our feelings, especially to my fellow Kanaka. I say to you that we come from a very proud history and a people who knew how to so skillfully and deftly carve out their words through mele and through other writings, through Hawaiian language newspapers. And it was so important that they wrote about how they saw the world and how they viewed things and how they felt. Perhaps this is the one last remaining medium of expression that truly transcends the generations, and it transcends ethnicity, it transcends geographic location. It is able to travel the world around. So to you, my fellow Kanaka, I challenge all of you to really try to process and analyze and synthesize how you feel and express yourselves. I encourage all of you to, no matter how you express it, no matter what form, to remember that there's always a tomorrow. And we in the 21st century who have become quite accustomed and sometimes too comfortable with social media, we say things and put things out. We express things in ways that don't take into consideration that there may be a tomorrow that we'll wake up to. And so, elike no me ka olelo o keia mele, e na wei mua E nā pōki'i a inu wai awa awa. E vivo olea ho okupa'a a o he hope e ho I mai ai. A na'i wale no kākou, kauko e mau I ke ala, au e ke aloha olea ka malihini. E nau e mua nā pōki'i a e inu wai awa awa. E vivo olea ho okupa'a a o he hope e ho I mai ai. A na'i wale no kākou, kauko e mau I ke ala, au e ke aloha ole a ka malihini. No leila I ka lāhui. He hala ana ka hopena o ka lāhui, kanaka. What will be the fate of our beloved people, the Kanaka, the Hawaiians of these lands? It's up to you to decide, and you and I together, we can make a difference. Mahalo.
Mahalo e Kumu Hina. Mahalo for that. You know, just made me think, you know, this song is for our beloved High Hawaii. And just a little bit history, right? Our High Hawaii on this day of Ho'omana'o ya Kamehameha, Pai'ea, Kamehameha e Kahi. Many people, I was surprised in looking at comments, various comments throughout Facebook in this last couple of days, you know, about our flag, right? And this song beautifully symbolizes and expresses actually what our aloha is for our High Hawaii. And if you guys missed the last episode of Ola Kaha Aloha, we had a great historical look at the origins of our High Hawaii, this High Hawaii that's behind all of us right now, with the Union Jack up in the corner and the stripes representing our mokupuni. And it was, of course, designed by and commissioned by Kamehameha, right? And many people don't know that Kamehameha e Kahi is actually the person, right, the kanaka, the ali'i, who commissioned this High Hawaii that we have just grown to love and aloha, and it's wrapped up in it from the time of antiquity up until now. You know, has brought forward the symbolism of our nation, you know, till today, you know, with us, you know, whether what other people think about it, right? We know that history and we're connected to that. So if you want to learn more about that, go to www.oha.org/olakahaloa, and it's episode number 5, I believe, that Layana is on there. We're also going to be posting up very shortly, within the next few weeks, we're going to post up his whole entire uncut history of it. And in that, he goes into La Ho'i Ho'i Ea. He goes through a lot of the connecting pieces. We could only show a segment of it, about 5 minutes of it, but he actually goes on for about a good 20 minutes or so. And it's a great background if you ever wanted to know more about our High Hawaii. And mahalo Hina, I remember the day after you wrote this song, we were up on the Mauna doing pule. We had that vigil that was called, you know, on the Mauna. This was I think this was the second week of them being up there last July. Right. Well, I think they went up in the second week in June, and we went up on a third week to do a 12-hour vigil up there. And I remember you sharing the story of you and Josh meeting up that night before in Hilo. And so that was so awesome, you know, for this song to have like caught on, and we had videos of school kids singing it, you know, everybody singing the song, you know. So mahalo to the two of you for being inspired, right? And then taking that inspiration and expressing that through music, and then sharing it with the rest of the Lahui. Davis, what's coming up next week?
Mahalo nui Kumu Hina. Mahalo for the gifts that you bestow upon our Lahui with the beautiful mele that you create. You know, mahalo nui for that. And for next week, we are confirming, hoping to have some of the Mauna leadership on to talk about kapu aloha. And I think that, you know, given these crazy times that we are in, discussing kapu aloha and, you know, how that's a foundation for our spiritual well-being that in turn feeds our mental and physical well-being in high stress times, I think is a timely discussion. So we're not sure who exactly is coming yet onto the show, but it's being discussed, and we know that that's the topic we want to cover. So yeah, we look forward to that.
That's a great, and that's going to be a great discussion. You know, there's heated debates going on right now online, you know, about that, you know, about kapu aloha, about, you know, things that make Hawaii and our people our Hawaii unique in this world, and what kind of gifts we have to offer the world as far as the way that we deal with things, and what kind of things maybe just are indicative of things that happen here in Hawaii, you know, yeah, all of these kinds of things have been discussed. So that's great to bring forward, because it is a, you know, going along with the theme of this series, right? If we're talking about civic engagement, right? We've been talking a lot about the why, right? And then some about the how when it comes to elections, right? But even I think this helps answer the how too, right? How is it that we civically engage? And we by no means are prescribing anything, right? There's not a prescription that we're gonna say, you must do this, right? So don't get it twisted out there, right? We wouldn't want to, you know, put that out there, but we're bringing up these topics so that you too can engage in that discussion and see if this makes sense for you, you know, as Hawaii, and or if you're not Hawaii but you live here in Hawaii, for you too, right, to contemplate as we move forward during this election season. And actually, I think these are good lessons just for all kind times. They're not just limited for the election seasons. So mahalo for that.
Definitely. And then the reminder, you know, consistent. Don't forget to vote. Don't forget to get registered. The deadline to register in order to receive your ballot in the mail, the deadline is July 9th. So we're a few weeks out. And then the ballots will drop on July 21st. Just some interesting data. Already about 50% of Hawaii's voters vote by mail via absentee ballots. So this is not a completely new process. The new development is that everyone is now going to receive one of those ballots as long as you're registered. And then we won't have the neighborhood precinct polling places any longer. So it's basically everyone should be voting by mail now. And that means 700,000, I believe there's 700,000 registered voters approximately in Hawaii. So everyone will receive a ballot. It will go to the address that is on file. So even if you know that you're registered, please go check olvr.hawaii.gov, which is listed on this slide right here. That is the voter registration website. Please go and check and make sure that your address is updated so that you receive your ballot. The ballots will drop on July 21st in the mail. You have a couple weeks to fill out the ballot and return it. The interesting fact is that the data for absentee voters in the past, so 50% of the people who vote, when they receive the absentee ballots, which is usually 2 to 3 weeks before the actual election day, in-person election day, those who receive ballots in the mail, about half of those are done within, are filled out and placed back in the mail within the first 48 hours. The other half are submitted within the first week that they receive the ballot. So I think that's a good lesson there in terms of when you get it, fill it out and put it right back in the mail, get it done, and then encourage your friends and family to do it as well. And so that means you got some homework to do. We all have some homework to do. Get to know our candidates in the meantime so that we're ready. Make sure we're registered. Go look for information about candidates. and so that you're prepared right when those ballots come. And no just vote on name recognition, guys. Make sure we know who we're voting for, what they stand for, and we know that that those of us who engage in this work regularly, be it policy, be it community outreach, we know that we have a kuleana to help inform, right? And so at OHA, I know that we have launched a questionnaire to all candidates and all races, which, guys, that's a huge, major props to our digital media team for putting that questionnaire together and getting it out to all the candidates. There's 103 races. Over 300 candidates have filed. They've all received OHA's questionnaire. So we'll see how many respond, and the responses will be published in Kawaiʻola. And then on this show, we will be, in the coming weeks, we are going to host candidate forums for the OHA races. So there's 4 OHA elections. There's 4 OHA trustee seats up this year. It's Hawaii Island, Molokai, and Lanai, and Kauai and Niihau. And then the at-large seat. So 4 races, and we will be hosting candidate forums for those races on this platform for the primary. So we're gonna try and get some information out, at least the OHA races. In the next coming weeks, I'm hoping that we will be able to share some other websites, some other organizations who will be publishing information about candidates as well, so that we can get, up to speed and be informed about who's running and who's running for seats in our neighborhood that represent us, whether it be House,
Right.
Senate, County Council, Mayor, or OHA trustee, or
And
congressional
Davis,
delegate.
Right,
Yeah.
and anybody has access to that information right now. If you go onto the Office of Elections website, there's a PDF on there that you can click, that you can see everybody that's running, right? So you can look for your district, you can look for your area, for the OHA trustees. It doesn't matter because you can vote for, any one of them. But you can look right on there. So if you go to the Office of Elections website under the candidate filing report, you can have access to that information and start doing your homework now. But like David said, our public policy team and our digital media guys are gonna send around some questions pertinent to, what, and we didn't send like 100 questionnaire to them, right? We picked questions that we felt was really important to us. Oh yeah, mahalo Joe for that. So you can look under candidate reports, right down from there, and that 2020 candidate election status will give you all the listing of all the candidates that are running. Yeah. Oh, sorry, wait. Is that the? Oh yeah. There's another one too, and it has their addresses, their phone numbers. It has their email addresses. If you guys have questions, if you are organizing in your community, right, you can access this information. It's all online and open to the public, to go ahead and get informed about who's out there. So that's a great resource that we have available. I mean, look, and it's in a July issue that will come out with OHA's in the Kawaiʻola. There'll be a bunch of them that are going to be printed in the hard copy, and then the rest will all rest on our digital platform on kawaiʻola.news. Because like David said, there's over 100 races going on. So we couldn't fit it all into the printed copy, but we will have them in the digital form too. Yeah. Anything else, Davis?
No, I think that's it. Yeah, get registered, check the registration, and get to know your candidates. And then, for folks that have asked, what they can do, candidates in your districts are always looking for help. So find a candidate that aligns with what you believe and that you feel represents your voice, and reach out and offer to help. Every House district is up for election every 2 years, so there's always a candidate in your district that could probably use your help, whether it be something simple as wearing a shirt, putting a bumper sticker on your car, or who knows, or getting folks registered to vote. Yeah, there's a lot of simple things that you can do to help candidates, and engaging with your candidates is important. They should hear your mana'o and what is important to you. So definitely reach out.
And what was very encouraging was, we saw all the kind of activity going on in our streets, where people have come out and put their bodies out, out in the communities to express how they feel about what's going on in the world and what's going on around us. We hope that translates into the activity of the ballot box, right? We hope that translates into the elections too. So hopefully that momentum kind of keeps up, and we see more and more engagement as we get closer and closer to our elections. Yeah,
Yep,
mahalo
definitely.
for that.
Mahalo.
So everybody, mahalo for spending your laho mana'oia kamehameha day with us today. If you can, just take a little moment, reflect with your ohana about what Hawaiian leadership looks like, and what you want to see in honor of Kamehameha today. And we thank our guests, Dr. Trisha Kehaulani Watson on here, and of course Kumu Hina Wong with that beautiful mele, and also the co-writer of that mele, and the one whose voice we are heard in, Mr. Josh Totofi. Mahalo for featuring that mele, Hina, and like always, Davis, mahalo for the great work, and we'll see you guys all back here again next Thursday with another exciting installment of Aloha Rising. Okay, ahui ho kako, aloha.
Aloha.